Hi again, everybody. Here's an interesting little game that was played in 1913 with Nimzovich with the white pieces and Alapin with the black, and it's a French defense. And it starts out e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, knight f6, and now white plays e takes d5, and black recaptures with the knight, and now white plays the knight to f3, black plays c5, and now white goes ahead and takes off the knight at d5, and black recaptures with the queen. Now white plays the bishop to e3, black plays c takes d4, and white recaptures with the knight. Black plays a6, and now white plays a surprising move. He plays the bishop to e2, leaving the g-pawn completely undefended. So black takes it with the queen. Now white plays the bishop to f3, not only attacking the queen but also protecting the rook at h1. So black simply retreats the queen to g6. Now white brings up the queen to d2, and black hits at the knight with e5. And now white plays a second surprising move. Instead of retreating the knight to safety, he castles queenside. So black takes the knight, and white recaptures with the bishop. Now black brings out his other knight to c6, and now white plays a third surprising move. He plays the bishop to f6, threatening, of course, to play the queen to d8 with check, and then once the knight captures the queen, he then would play rook takes d8, checkmate. So the bishop has to be captured. So black takes the bishop with his queen. Now white brings his rook from h1 over to e1 with check, and black blocks the check with bishop to e7. And now it's time for the challenge to the viewer. If you'd like to pause the video now and see if you can find white's next move, I'll wait for you. White plays bishop takes c6, check. And black sees that it doesn't matter that if he captures the bishop with his queen or if he takes it with the b-pawn, white will simply play queen to d8, checkmate, as the bishop at e7 is pinned by the rook. So instead of capturing the bishop, black simply moves his king to f8. But now white ends the game by playing queen to d8, check. And now black has no choice but to capture the queen. And now white ends the game with rook to e8, checkmate. But you have to admit that was a series of very surprising moves on white's part, but it worked out in the end, didn't it? Well, hey, I hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll see you next time.